Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's the SatsMate Stack here, and today I'm going to talk about the potential upcoming risks of a Great Recession or a depression, and also how am I preparing to weather a potential storm if it comes. Now, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. Feel free to subscribe, give it a share if you like the content, and I look forward to keeping you guys engaged and keep seeing you guys follow the podcast. Now, the Great Recession. Now, we've had a Great Recession back in 2008. We also had a recession, the dot-com bubble in 2000, and then the Great Market Crash in 87. And we also had a Great Depression in 1929. And, you don't really currently have to look too far to see that many people are seriously struggling financially in the times that we're in. And a lot of people are throwing a lot of things on credit cards. They're taking out debt, personal loans, or just loans to finance everyday part of life. And people are really cutting it close to the edge. And I think what we've seen actually is a lot of costs have been going up and wages have been kind of staying steady. But we're also seeing a lot of interesting things in the labor market right now. These assets over the past couple of years, due to the 2020, 2021 print, we saw assets go up through the roof. Now, at the time, it may feel good, right? It's like, ooh, free money. I get these free stimmy checks. But it's not free money. It's just going to cause the cost of everything to go up forever years down the road. So it feels good at the time, but it'll eventually catch up. Now, these incomes have been stagnant, and actually a chart or a website I highly recommend you guys all visit is WTF Happened 1971. This is a fantastic site where you can see kind of the divergence between productivity and wages. And I really think that it's kind of a telling sign of what happened when we moved off the gold standard, how fiat currency is actually a net negative for society. And, people just don't hold real assets as much anymore. Eggs, we saw those recently at like 10 bucks, guys, 10 bucks a carton. I think it's lowering now again. Cars, yeah, you can't find an affordable $15,000 car that's new or $20,000 car that's new anymore. They all start around $40,000. And at the same note, the lending rates are going up too. If you look at the borrowing rate due to the Federal Reserve increasing the interest rates, those have been going up. Assets in general are so expensive, all assets, and it's also hard to afford the basic day-to-day things. So I think we're living in a period where it's been a K-shaped recovery. So if you had assets over the past couple of years, you've probably done pretty well. If you didn't have assets, you've probably noticed your standard of living has slightly gotten worse, maybe by about 5 to 10% per year. You can't put your finger on it, but things don't go as far as they used to. And I think assets in general, they even feel expensive. Like buying my fiance and I are looking, just buying a 3-bed, 2-bath house in a decent neighborhood in North Phoenix. That'll cost us about $3,600 in a good neighborhood, right? And yeah, we can go west of the tracks or south of the tracks and maybe find something a little cheaper for like maybe $3,000, but it hasn't always been like this. So what are the things that I'm going to do to prepare for a potential downside? Now, here are things to think about. I think it's like getting rid of a lot of the excess and things that we don't need. So like I look at subscriptions. Guys, I had like 7 or 8 subscriptions at one time. It was like the Netflix, the HBO, the Paramount, the Hulu, the Apple, you name it. I had all those. But I kind of realized, I was like, wait a second. I can only watch one show at a time. So if I can only watch one show at a time, why am I subscribed to all these subscriptions? And so what I've been doing is I've been churning. So I'll watch maybe Hulu for 1 month, and then maybe I'll finish all the shows the second month, and then I'll cancel it, and then I'll activate Netflix. I know that's only $20 a month, guys, but it's more of the principle behind it. Are you really using everything you're paying for? Same thing with groceries. If you buy a bunch of food and it goes bad, are you using what you're paying for, or are you letting it go to waste? So I kind of look at that. There's a lot of excess that we have in our lives, and it might be good to recalibrate. Do we really need all this stuff? The next thing I'm looking at to prepare for a potential downside is to find avenues to increase my income. Now, look, this is easier said than done, because I've been trying for years to find a side thing, and, it's hard. But just look, research, learn, do anything you can. You can always pick up a side gig like a DoorDash or a Uber, but just try to find something to, insulate yourself. Because when a downturn comes, assets get sold off, layoffs can happen, and you don't want to get your income taken away and then be left with nothing. So just find an avenue to increase your income, because it will be very helpful over the long run. It's just good, even if we don't go into a recession, have different sources of income. And I just think really looking and saying, hey, where are my spending patterns not ideal? A lot of times us Americans, we have a lot of horrible spending patterns, and I'm one of them. I love eating out. I've been eating in more, but that's just one of those things where a lot of people, they like to eat out 5 or 6 times a week. Every time they eat out, maybe they'll have a couple drinks, and before you know it, you're spending a couple $100 a week on eating out. So even eating out once or twice a week is a lot of money, because you got to tip, you got to, drive out there. There's a lot of things that you got to do. Maybe the food is a little bit higher than you could if you just made it on your own. So just find ways to reduce that. And the last thing is this: staying crafty. Avoid those quick fixes from Amazon. I'm going to, just buy this, this product from Amazon. Just try to find things where, could you go to Walmart to buy it? Could you go to the grocery store to buy it? Do you really need to be buying that product from Amazon? And I think another thing about staying crafty is really just not defaulting towards the typical route we've been conditioned. So I have a friend, he can go and he can go walk, which is healthy, to the corner store and buy his burger. But instead, he DoorDashes it. Every time that's $5 in tip. And it's also one of those things where it gets you lazy and it gets you used to it and it gets you in your... So just try to find ways to reduce a lot of those things. I think it's okay on occasion, but making a habit of it, that's the bad thing from my perspective. Now, I'm going to get some flack on this because this is more of a Bitcoin podcast, but keep cash, gold, silver, and Bitcoin in self-custody. Keep cash. Look, I know a lot of Bitcoiners are Bitcoin only, never hold any cash. I don't think that's the right attitude, in my opinion. Here's what happened to me, guys. I lost my job in 2021. Lost it completely. And at the time I was pretty much all in. I actually had to end up reducing my position, or I felt the pain. I couldn't buy, and this is when it was 15, 16K, right? So this should be a lesson to Bitcoiners. As much as you may think you have a belief like I do, you don't know what happens, right? And do you want to sell your assets, right? Do you want to sell it? I think it's okay keeping 10% on the side, 20% on the side. There's nothing wrong with that. And same thing, keep it off the exchanges. If a financial crisis does happen or a depression does happen, you don't want to have all your assets sitting on exchanges. Because guess what? When the tide goes out, you're going to see who's skinny dipping. And we saw so with the FTX collapse. We saw so in 2008 with Lehman Brothers, and AIG and all those guys. And we're going to see it again in the future. I don't know who it's going to be or what's going to go under, but history repeats itself, and you don't want to keep your assets in positions where you don't have full self-custody of them. Full self-custody. If it's gold or silver, get those silver rounds, get those gold coins. If it's cash, maybe have a couple thousand on the side. If it's self-custody, make sure to get a hardware wallet. Don't just keep everything on an exchange and be trusting of third-party and quote-unquote trusted custodians. Now, this one is controversial, and I know a lot of people may disagree, but avoid debt at all costs. Guys, if you can't afford to pay it now, cash, don't buy it. Whether that's a car, a house, or any of that, just try to pay cash. It's worked well for me. I could be wrong. But, my view is, like, if you're going to get a house, make sure it's income-producing debt. If you're going to borrow money to buy stocks, make sure you're certain, but make sure it provides some sort of cash flow. Don't just take on debt to buy a new car, to buy a new countertop, to buy another fridge or whatever. Make sure if you take on debt, it produces some type of yield above the carrying costs of that debt. And then just, this is another thing, like, I was thinking about. I was like, man, like, in today's day and age, there's not a lot of jobs in my field, guys. I'll be honest with you. Like, I was applying since last year, middle of last year, and I think it's important to, like, really assess, hey, we need to keep ourselves marketable as humans. We got to always be studying, hey, what's the latest and greatest skills I can learn? Anything I can do when the times get tough. Because if you look at jobs on LinkedIn or Indeed or wherever, there's often 100, 200, 300 people applying, right? What makes you stand out from all those hundreds of other applicants? And I guarantee you, a lot of us, we're competitive, we're excellent at what we do, but do we stand out from the crowd? Oftentimes, that may not be the case. So it's something to think about. The next thing to really think about is, like, follow the capital allocators, guys. Look, I'm not a fan of Warren Buffett. I'm not a fan of Jamie Dimon, but they did something recently, and I'm sure many of you guys watched it. They moved to cash. Whether that's an incorrect move or not, it is a signal. It is saying, hey, maybe things may take a correction a bit. And when they moved to cash, guess what? The NASDAQ, S&P corrected 10, 15%. When's the entry point? I don't know. But the point is, follow the Howard Lutnicks, follow the Jamie Dimons, follow the Trumps. Where are they allocating a lot of their capital? Look, rich people don't like to lose money, right? And if you have a fortune, you're not going to be breaking your principles just because of hype and euphoria. You're going to be making based decisions. So the capital allocators, the big smart money, what are they doing? And how can you try to mirror some of those moves? But guys, I'm telling you, I don't know if a recession is going to happen. I don't know if a depression is going to happen. I feel like we are a little bit overdue for a recession, given how crazy things have gotten over the past couple of years. But at the same time, you don't know how things will play out. Things may just keep going on as they have been. It's my take, though, that we're going to see the market kind of cool off a little bit, maybe take a correction for maybe a couple months, 6 months or longer. But I think things will turn around by the midterms. I don't think Trump and the administration is going to want the market to crash under his watch, because that'll be a bad legacy that Trump would leave behind if he did that, right? So I think we're going to kind of see things kind of level itself out a little bit, but I don't think we're going to go into the midterms in the next, what would that be? That would be about a year and a half. We're not going to see a Great Depression during that period. I can't see it. I would just see they would rather print big than go through that, right? So just stay focused, stay level-headed, and always just try to prepare. Find different ways to make money. pay off your debt, make sure if it's debt, it's income producing, and keep studying from the greats. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, there's a credit card link below for the Bitcoin credit card from Fold. I highly recommend you click that link. I have a lot of other links in the description. It helps support my channel and my podcast. It's all greatly appreciated. Again, please share if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.